Unsettling folklore to high-octane action. Today we're talking about Muramasa Rebirth for the PS Vita. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Hallowed Be Thy Game. Ren here, and if you're a fan of RPGs and general discussions about the games we all know and love, then you definitely got a friend in this channel. I post at least once a week on topics from pickup videos, new releases, to just chatting about the games that have reached hallowed status in my heart. So I want to thank you so much for watching, and today we're talking about Muramasa Rebirth. Let's check it out. We join the tale of Muramasa Rebirth with the choice between two main characters. Both characters are intertwined with one another and give more perspective to the overall story and the lore of this feudal tale. Muramasa embodies the very essence of Japanese folklore, and the atmosphere of the game is both captivating and haunting. The awe-inspiring landscapes paint some of the most alluring scenes in all of 2D gaming, adding much to the presentation of the story. Momohime and Kisuke, sorry for the pronunciation, are characters reminiscent of a Brothers Grimm story, not necessarily promised a happy ending. Vanillaware's approach to storytelling is unique amongst the developer world. Muramasa Rebirth's opening and presentation heavily remind me of an anime called Mushishi. Let me know down in the comments if you've seen that classic. They have an ageless aesthetic that makes Muramasa Rebirth a contender for one of the most beautiful games I have ever played. Momohime is possessed by the soul of a brutal warrior, and Kisuke is suffering from amnesia and attempting to discover why everyone is trying to kill him. The presentation of the story unravels like a scroll from ancient days. I found myself fascinated by Momohime's story and immediately developed tunnel vision to focus on her tale. Honestly, I had to know what was going to happen, who was going to die, and what succulent meal I would be able to cook up next. Seriously, Vanillaware, you make me hungry for Japanese food big time with this title, and I think at this point, they just need to release a cookbook that compiles all the different recipes from all their different games. But I digress. Nothing in this story is shocking. Instead, it is just well written, resulting in an enjoyable game. From the story setting to the world map design, you are immersed in a fairy tale. And it's up to you to decide if you can see this tale through to the end. I was invested in saving Momohime, and I think that this speaks volumes considering it is a 2D Metroidvania structured work of art. Muramasa Rebirth has beautiful compositions that make for the perfect coupling to your adventures as you wander enchanted bamboo forests or run through fields chasing hope. Here's a sampling of some of my favorite songs from my playthrough. There were moments where the music helped set the perfect and unsettling tone for graveyards. In the next scene, an upbeat tempo that would inject all the adrenaline straight into your veins. Hitoshi Sakimoto and Masaharu Iwata, again, sorry for the pronunciations, created a distinct composition that embodies and conveys the ethereal feel in Muramasa. A dreamlike trance at times, while at others, a hardened battle theme. Phenomenal work. This should come as no surprise, but Vanillaware have created a fine-tuned and high-performance 2D Metroidvania with fast-paced action. The original Wii title, Muramasa the Demon Blade, also performed very well, but Rebirth on the Vita is a well-oiled machine. Nothing can be more infuriating than when an action RPG has a stutter or lag that contributes to a mistake or even a game over. I did not have a single performance issue throughout my entire run of the game. The performance is a cornerstone of how I want all 2D action games to be. The controls in combat are also snappy and responsive. You can customize your experience by using the remap button function to give a personal touch and feel to combat. There is only one negative I have about this game, and that's how you pick up items. It is mapped to the X button, which is also the jump button. It's just kind of an odd choice that every time you pick up an item, you will jump. And I was not able to figure out how I might be able to refigure this. It appears that they are both, in fact, the same button. Also, talking to villagers and other NPCs requires the use of the X button as well. So there were multiple times I would be talking to someone and just jump away. Or I would find myself doing a tango of trying to jump to another landing and then talking to a hot springs monkey that would transport me to a different cutscene. All in all, that's the only nitpick I have about this incredible gaming gem. The general progression system of the game follows a similar system to your typical Metroidvania. Go out and explore, and you'll eventually find a barrier that's been erected to keep Momohime or Kisake at bay. You get this unbelievably helpful and well-designed map to help you on your journey to the next boss. Slay that boss, and upgrade your weapon to be able to destroy the barrier and continue on with your journey. The map is on screen whenever you are not in combat, so you can easily see where your next progression path will be. It's simple and satisfying. Along your way, you progress through the game's upgrade systems. You can hold up to 3 weapons at a time. You craft these weapons, and they are integral to increasing your power levels. These weapons come in 2 varieties, either a long sword or a short sword. Long swords are slow and powerful, whereas short swords provide that nice slice and dice action that I much preferred. Each weapon has its own special ability, and with each use, it will consume part of the weapon's durability. When a blade is sheathed, it will passively gain back durability. I was worried that this function would become cumbersome and the grind would become real for farming new weapons and such. But the only thing consuming durability does is help play into the beautiful dance of combat. The weapons have level and stat requirements that are laid out in an impressive progression tree that provides ample incentive to continue forging weapons as you see the power scaling and its potential laid out before you. Muramasa Rebirth's gameplay loop feeds into the enjoyment of New Game Plus. I want to give a little explanation here if this is your first time playing through Muramasa, but when you consume food for health or use items in battle, you'll gain a status known as fullness. This functions as the cooldown feature to prevent spamming heals or items in combat. All these features work together in a beautiful ebb and flow that makes the gameplay and performance of Muramasa Rebirth one of the most finely tuned experiences that can be had on the PS Vita. Vanillaware again proves itself as a powerhouse developer in RPGs. The cohesive flow between gameplay mechanics and combat have reached a whole new level of seamlessness. From the timed weapon switches to high-flying demon blade fun, you're going to be hooked on the action of the story. On the surface, Muramasa Rebirth is structured on a simple combat toolkit. It reminds me of Dragon's Crown, except let's just imagine there's only 2 playstyles, but those 2 playstyles have 0 downtime and are perfectly tuned. As mentioned before, we have 2 choices in weapons, long and short swords. Each sword has the same button inputs for moves, but with differing results. By holding a direction on the left analog stick and pressing attack, there will be a corresponding move. By adding in jumping mechanics, you can also hold a direction on the left analog stick and slash back and forth on screen. This makes for some of the most beautiful combat spectacles in the game. The emotional exhilaration you feel to have downed an enemy that's been giving you some troubles while in the air, and then slashing back and forth 3 times, then bringing down that sword like Link at the end of Wind Waker, Jesus. Coupled with the combat mechanics, there's an ability attached to each weapon on an individual basis that adds further complexity and strategy to each of your 3 weapons you have equipped. This is one of my favorite features because you need to have skill in balancing the use of each weapon art. You need to juggle each weapon between its use in defeating enemies and its durability. If you fail to do so and end up losing all power in all your weapons, you're in for a world of hurt while they recharge. As abilities are used, it takes away from the weapon's durability. But by fighting enemies and taking down foes, you will charge an empowered weapon switch that, when used, will provide a devastating screen-wide hit to all enemies. This is where the gameplay and combat flow become an intoxicating dance of managing your cooldowns and weapon abilities to find that perfect fit. The weapons recharge fairly quickly, so don't be like me and completely neglect your weapon arts until later in the game. The enemy designs are diverse, and eventually you will find your preferred method for taking on an ambushing horde of ninjas or repelling the disturbing banshees that will haunt you on back city streets. The game's legit, my friends, and the bosses in Muramasa Rebirth are a showcase for Vanillaware as they display their creation of imposing foes, unique combat mechanics, and high-octane action that will get your blood flowing. I cannot sing the praises enough for these bosses. I want to show them all, but we'll save some of the surprises for you to discover. I love how the difficulty scales in the game. Just as soon as I begun to master the enemies that were before me, I would find a cursed tree full of vengeful monks seeking to wreck my day. Some of these bosses are shockingly large, however, their gameplay mechanics always keep you on your toes and having a blast, even when they are smacking me around. This combat system and design is grounded in accessibility with a higher skill ceiling for those of you who want to try the extra challenge in Chaos Mode, the harder the game's two difficulties. One major aspect that I appreciated very much was forgiving save rooms and almost zero load times between deaths. The game never reached a point where I was tilted. All in all, there's no way I could ever overhype this game for you all. It delivers, and the Vanillaware series of games on the Vita is a masterclass in development and precision gameplay. This title was originally on the Wii and was subsequently ported to the Vita. While it hasn't made the transition to newer game systems, this game is an instant classic in my heart, and I fervently hope that someday modern gamers will be able to take a crack at it. They won't be disappointed. Thank you so much for watching to the end of today's video. Muramasa Rebirth. Do you think it deserves another port to modern consoles? Let me know down in the comments. Like this video if you liked it, and subscribe and hit that notification bell so we can keep hanging out in the future. And until then, I'll see you guys next time.